and welcome to Manifest Mindset by Affirm Afform Attract. Your place to come to when you need tips and advice when manifesting. We are an affirmation channel and you can find all our affirmation videos on YouTube. Hello and welcome to Manifest Mindset by Affirm Afform Attract. In this episode, I want to talk to you about how your reality does not matter. And this is so important for you to remember when you are manifesting. Now I'm going to be reaching out to people who are surrounded by negativity. The environment is nothing to write home about. Surrounded by poverty, surrounded by maybe crime even. When you listen and watch other people talk about manifestations, especially on the YouTube, and you might look at them in certain countries, the environment seems so much far better than yours from the get-go. And sometimes your mind will think, well, how am I going to even manifest something so simple as a free cup of coffee, let alone manifest a much better life for myself and my family? The answer to that is we have to ignore reality. You see, our reality has already been manifested, so we are kind of living in the past when our thoughts are concerned. We don't think of life like that because we think we're living in the moment, and to a degree we are. But when it comes to manifestation, what you've manifested, you're already living. So that's already gone. So you have to go and say to yourself, well, if I'm living in the past, if I'm actually living out my past thoughts, then my future is yet to be written. And although that's such an easy concept to grasp, but you think, but how can I get to where I want to be when all I'm surrounded by is lack? People around me are poor, my family's poor, my friends are poor, distant relatives are poor. People look miserable. You can just feel the misery in the air. How do I surpass that? As difficult as it may seem, you would have to try and ignore your current reality because you've already manifested, like I just said previously. You have to say to yourself, well, what exactly is it that you would like? Don't think of something as, well, what am I able to manifest? Just think about what would your life look like? What kind of life would you like to be living? The problem with us is we still try and control our life through action. If I get 2 jobs and I save a bit of money, and if I do this, I've done that many a times. Usually it's because we are either too impatient. Sometimes it's a belief thing that we're not going to get it. Or sometimes we do believe we are going to get our manifestation, but it's just taking too long. Whatever the reason is, we try to manipulate and control it because this is what we've been practicing and doing all our lives. And this is where your thoughts need to take the reins for a while. And some people find it hard to visualize. Sometimes they find it hard to affirm. They find it hard to use the law of assumption. And depending on where you are, I would advise people, why don't you just fantasize about something? I did that once. I think I mentioned it in one of my other podcasts. There's a certain personal situation that never in a billion years would I think would ever come to pass. So because I 1,000,000,000% believe it would never happen, I just imagined it happening, and I had fun imagining it happening. And when I started to really learn about, the law, when I look back, it's like, wow, I actually but I did manifest this. And I think, but I know they say you got to believe in the stuff that you want. If you don't believe, then it's not going to happen. But I've experienced where I just did not believe that certain things were going to happen, and they did. And from my experience, I always believe that not having resistance is so much more powerful than belief. I've imagined it and I visualized it so much. I mean, it didn't exactly play out in the exact same way, but the scenarios played out nonetheless. And I was free. My mind was free. My heart was free. And the visualizations were there. And I was happy and I was in the moment and I enjoyed it. And when I think about it, it's just like, wow. But then the things that I want the most, I struggled. And I struggled because I'm attached to it. There's frustration, there's fed up, there's tired, there's lack, there's non-belief and belief at the same time. So there's so much tension and resistance. Whereas with my other thing, there was absolutely no resistance. I didn't believe it was going to happen. Maybe, I suppose deep down, maybe I knew there's a possibility. There's always that tiny, it's never really dead in the water. But, if someone asks you like, nah, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. So, but yeah, I just let myself be free to fantasize and imagined, and it came. And it's really hard because I think maybe I really wanted it, but maybe because if I didn't get it, it wouldn't, I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be sad. I'd just be like, oh well, it wasn't for me. That would have been my mindset. Where something like getting yourself out of poverty, just having a home, food to eat, paying your bills on time, especially in 2022's climate around the world, not even just in your country, you just think, how am I going to get out of this? And that's our problem. We just look at the news, we look at other people's lives, and we just think that there's no hope. But there is hope, and there's always a way. But until you take yourself out of your situation in your thoughts, then you are going to be manifesting the same life over and over again. So if you're living in a situation where people around you, they don't share the same type of thoughts of you, they just think it always happens to someone else and etc. What you need to do is just write down exactly what you want out of life, and you keep it to yourself. You manifest to yourself, you affirm to yourself. Every time you see someone failing, that's not your story. Every time you hear bad news in your area, that's not going to be your story. Your story doesn't have to end where someone else's begins. It really doesn't. I know it's easier said than done, but unless you take your reins and lead your thoughts into something great, you are always going to keep living the same day over and over again. There's no magic to it. It's just simple thoughts. Even if you fantasize, if you're, say for example, you are where both your parents are not working, you grew up poor, your grandparents were poor, your great grandparents were poor, there's always been this kind of breakdowns in relationships, or it's just pure, this really just not a feel good life. Take some time away, whether it's in a park, in your room, anywhere, and you close your eyes. And if you cannot visualize it, use the "isn't it wonderful" strategy. Isn't it wonderful that I now have my own place? Isn't it wonderful that I am working the career that I have always dreamed of? And you can also use one that I like. This one is when you're really struggling, you forget about visualizing and all the rest of it. This is a really good exercise, and it's called well, I don't know what it's called, but it's how would I feel if I got the job that I wanted? How would I feel if I was now living in my dream home? How would I feel if I was now, working in the field that I want to work in? And when you ask yourself that question, it's so easy to, you can't say, how would I feel if I won £1 million on the lottery and be miserable? Like, it's almost impossible, because you're asking yourself a question. How would I feel? I will feel amazing. I will feel ecstatic. I will feel good. And when you ask that question and you think about it, your mind and your thoughts, your whole being, sometimes it doesn't have no choice but to comply with how you would feel, which will be happy. Whether it's extremely happy, really happy, feeling amazing, it will conform to that feeling straight away, because you've asked the question. I am a firm believer in finding ways that work for you to try and help you manifest what you want. Depending on where you are, how you feel, your mood, you might need different things to try to help further and push you along. And I love that. How would I feel if I just, got 10 million podcast listeners? I feel so amazing. It'll be, I probably feel a bit overwhelmed, but in a good way. And I would just be so like, oh my gosh, you just get that feeling. And is there a chance that you might get that feeling and your mind goes back to, well, it's not going to happen to you. Look where you are. Look where you live. There's no one in your family that's been successful. There's no one in your friend circle and their family's been successful. It's quite easy to go back to that mindset almost instantly after you've had the initial thought. It happens, there's not much you can do about it, to be fair. You just need to kind of give into it. When I mean give into it, I mean as in like, okay, I've got this negative thought, and there's a time where you either can continue with the negative thoughts, or you say, okay, this is the negative thought that I've had. Why me? It's not gonna happen. I've seen people's videos and I've been on people's podcasts, and it's great for them, but I just don't think it's for me. Now you can go along with that, even if you take that long, and then you can turn and say, but you know what? That isn't really the life that I want to believe. This isn't the life that I want for myself. How would it feel if isn't it wonderful that I now have my, and just keep saying it, make it into a, what's it called? What's the word when you, not a plan, routine. Make it part of your daily routine. So when I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is I'm grateful, I'm thankful. And, after, if you pray, and, just have 5 minutes to just say, oh, isn't it wonderful that I have now waken up to go to my new job? Isn't it wonderful that I now have won, a few million on the lottery? Isn't it wonderful that, my career's taken off? Or you can do the other one where you say, hey, how would it feel if I won the lottery? How would it feel if I'm now my desired weight size? How would it feel if, etc.? And I know that some of you are out here and you're saying, but listen, I've tried everything and I just can't seem to shift from where I am. I encourage you to keep going and don't give in to those feelings and then thoughts. You might have them. So what? Just know where you want to go, where you want to be, and you keep affirming. Do it with those 2 exercises. If scripting isn't working for you and saying affirmations and trying to be happy and trying to be in alignment, if that doesn't work, fantasize about it, dream about it. I really want to encourage everybody out there, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what your circumstances, no matter what other people's beliefs are, you need to fight for yourself. You need to speak up for yourself. You just have to keep going. Someone else's story isn't yours. It doesn't matter if you've grown up in the same neighborhood, the same street. It doesn't matter that there's no one in your family that's had any kind of success, or someone might have, but the success was just only small. It wasn't anything major. But you do have to just believe that you can even try and manifest it. In life, when you are consciously trying to manifest, these reminders will come. Yeah, they will come. I promise you. You would still have negative feelings and negative thoughts, but then you will come to a point where you're like, I don't want to have that thought. I'm trying to manifest this. I'm trying to manifest that. These thoughts are not serving me. I need to steer towards something that makes me feel better. And even this is a trick that I do. If I'm in a position where my mind is just tired, is exhausted, and I just can't seem to kind of, go down the positive thinking or do exercise. You know what I do? I watch things that I enjoy. TV series, a film. Something that I just enjoy and makes me happy, and it takes my mind off it. So for them moments, with those half hour, an hour and a half, my mind isn't focusing on things that I don't want it to focus on in a negative way. I urge you, like I said, to look within, see what you want out of your life, and fantasize about it. Have fun with it. Enjoy the fantasy. Enjoy seeing yourself getting up in the morning, putting on your best outfit, and going to that job or going to your own place of business. See yourself married. See yourself going to the bank and going shopping with your family or friends. Whatever it is that you want to manifest, fantasize about it. If the scripting is, you just cannot script from where you are, you cannot affirm from where you are. Fantasize, and again I'm going to say fantasize, and you do it in a way where you don't focus on believing that you can get what you want. Don't focus on any of that stuff. Yeah, just focus on having a good time with your imagination. Now, obviously, depending where you are, and you can become aligned with what you want, and yes, of course that works. Of course, I wouldn't say to someone, oh, that's all rubbish, don't believe in alignment and feel. No, I absolutely believe it. But what I'm telling you is, if you are in a certain situation where you are surrounded with nothing positive and you feel as though you cannot move because no one else has, take it back. What can I do? Where can I start from? Let this be your starting point. If you're someone who is in that situation, but you can script and you can affirm, you can still do this exercise. You don't have to not do it, and you don't have to do it because of where you are. But I am just giving people just extra exercises that they can do so they can reach the point to where they want to reach. Anyway, thank you everyone so much for listening to my podcast. I really do appreciate you. Make sure you check out the description box below to some links to a video about saying, isn't it wonderful, and how would it feel? Anyway, guys, thank you so much once again. I shall see you next time.